We are now at number 4.
Okay, so for number 4, this is going to be an obvious hot take. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of non-believers when I mention this one, but all I can say is go to the tape. I am going with Joan Jett doing "Pretty Vacant."
Wow. All right, make your case.
Well, it has teeth. It really has teeth. It like out teeth the original. And if you don't believe me, just give it a listen. It's strong. It's very strong. The vocals outdo outdo Johnny Rotten. The band is just vicious, and yeah, I'm sure. And again, this is neck and neck. All of these are neck and neck. It is in no way am I downing the original in any way. It's great. Of course, it's great. But this one you got to dig up because it is great as well.
This is a very hot take from my quarter. So let me start by this. If we were to create like a fraternal or a sorority, and we were to include masters of cover songs, Joan Jett would be in the first class of inductees. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's throughout her career shown master level of the ability to just, whether it's obscure or it's well known, she is able to take a huge variety of music and absolutely own it. And she's done it throughout her entire career. And it's not the only thing she can do, but I Love Rock and Roll is a cover. Crimson and Clover is a cover. She does a cover. I think I'm looking at my playlist I made of her stuff. Everyday People's on it. Going back even to the Runaways, Mama, We're All Crazy Now, the Slade cover. Now, I don't know how much of that, if she could take 100% credit for that, but she's got this, she does a great cover of Real Wild Child. She has this long track record of it. So I'm not dismissing out of hand. Roadrunner, so yeah. So
yeah, Roadrunner.
I am not going to dismiss this out of hand, even though it's a hot take. But for someone like me who is a Johnny Rotten is on my my Mount Rushmore. Mm-hmm. of people who are important to me. I have to just I'm not saying this is the case, but I just want you to understand, for someone like me who loves Johnny Rotten, this would be like me saying that her cover of Androgynous barely ekes out the Replacements version.
Yeah,
it's analogous to that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, though, just because it's a Replacements cover. You know what? All I can say is come at me, bro. That's that's all I can say. Because it's there. It's there. I mean, that's the reason why, so it's like the other day when I was thinking about what to put on this list, I went to listen to this, and I wasn't necessarily even thinking at the time that it was going to make the list. And then I was like, this has to make the list. This is great. Yeah, it's one of those things is obviously going to not be an obvious choice, and that isn't the reason why I made it. I didn't make it to make a hot take, but just upon giving it a fresh listen, it really kind of had to make the list.
I admire your bravery here. While I don't agree with you, I respect your choice. I respect your boldness, and out of deference to you and Joan, I'm going to I'm not going to come at you, bro, for that one.
Okay, all right.
That's just, I will not be amongst those who come at you.
Another Joan Jett cover that we didn't mention in that little barrage that is worth looking up. Her cover of Love Is All Around, the Mary Tyler Moore theme.
Yeah.
Also worth checking out.
REM's cover, another one with I'm sorry, boy, when you get old your brain dies. The bassist for REM again is Mike Mills.
Yes.
Another Mike Mills vocal is their cover of Love Is All Around. That's the second
Husker Du did it as well, as because they were a Minneapolis band doing a little tribute to
Well,
I
just
guess Minneapolis is most famous citizen.
I don't
Perhaps.
know if it's accidental, but here we are talking about covers, and we've already discussed two of the three Trogs songs that made it to the top 10. We've discussed Wild Thing, and we've now discussed Love Is All Around. I'm just going to throw in there. This isn't even a
Well,
sidebar.
yeah, different
Yeah,
song. That's a different song though, but yeah.
right, I know. But then
Okay.
the other Trog super hit that is also covered extremely well by your friend and mine, Mr. Alex Chilton does, I think, a pretty good cover of "With a Girl Like You," if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good pick. I mean,
Right.
that isn't your pick, right? Or
That
is it?
isn't my pick, but I think it's
It
interesting
would
that
be a good pick.
we're talking covers, and organically the Trogs came up more than once. I think there's a pattern there. I just don't know what it means.
Well, yeah, but I should backtrack on that because just to make clear, so REM covered the Trogs' "Love Is All Around."
Yeah.
Husker Du and Joan Jett covered the "Love Is All Around." That was the theme song for Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh well, I screwed that up.
Okay, so
Right,
just to do a little cleanup there. But
damn
yeah.
it. Well, that's what editing is for.
Well,
Although I'm not ashamed of talking about the Trogs.
okay.
I think they're awesome. I'm going to, for number 4, this is also another bit obscure, and not to do too long of a preamble here, but there are artists who I only know from like Spotify. I've never talked about them with anybody. I've never heard them interviewed. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. This is very embarrassing. But Betty Levette, who is a soul singer from Detroit, she was sort of at the fringes of success, but she was on Atlantic Records, and she does a great Neil Young cover of Heart of Gold back in the 70s. Like, she's done covers throughout her career, and I think only now in as sort of she's in the back nine of her life, she's really sort of taken on this like the last woman standing of that Detroit soul, that female soul singer. She's really the last of that breed, and she has always done great covers. She does a great cover. I don't like the Moody Blues, and I don't like Nights in White Satin, but Nights in White, her version of Nights in White Satin is better than the original, but the original isn't good enough to make this list. So I've picked from her. I have picked from her catalog her cover of Dirty Old Town. Now, to be fair, I only knew Dirty Old Town originally as a Pogues song. I love the Pogues version of Dirty Old Town, but hers is better. And the original artist is Ewan MacColl, whose version was not a super big hit, but Ewan MacColl wrote what I think is one of the greatest songs ever written, which is The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face. He wrote that song. I think that is like a human achievement. It's one of the greatest songs ever written. I don't necessarily share his politics, but he's another great super lefty, real lefty, folky. And he did, the song Dirty Old Town in his arrangement and hers, just, it sounds dirty and old even when it was new. I highly recommend it. It's Betty Levette, Lavette. She does she does a whole album of like British covers and from the British Isles. She has a whole bunch of that stuff. So definitely go look up Dirty Old Town. It's fantastic.
Done and done. So a quick sidebar on that. So the Moody Blues thing, I think could also be a future theme, where sometimes somebody will cover a song, and I think it's the first time you realize, like, you understand why they covered it, and you realize, well, maybe that is a good song. Maybe it just wasn't done properly.
Yep.
And so I think that could be another covers theme that we explore in the future. Is
totally
just that
agree.
idea. Yeah. So I think we got to put that in the hopper for a future show. And also want to mention other good versions of Dirty Old Town. Frank Black did it on an album, I think around, I want to say 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. Fast Man, Writer Man. He did a version of Dirty Old Town. And it is also reworked into the chant for Liverpool's defender Virgil van Dijk, which I got to mention because I am a strong Liverpool supporter.
I will dig. Frank Black has some excellent covers. I think you could easily do a 10-song playlist of top tier covers done by Frank Black. To your point on the Moody Blues, I agree. The guy, I think his name is Justin Hayward, the guy who wrote Nights in White Satin, the blonde guy, I think from Moody Blues. He says, our stuff. He said in some interview I read, like, our stuff gets covered all the time. People send me links to covers all the time. I pretty much don't listen to them. But he said, the types of people who kept sending me this Betty Levette, like, I just had to take it seriously. And he said, when he listened to it, it was the first time where he himself understood what the lyrics meant. Like, he said, it was the first time he felt that he understood what he was trying to get at, that it just sort of came out, and he didn't really dwell on it too much. It was only her version that really opened it up for him. I think that her cover is that good.
Yeah, well, I definitely will be listening to that. Okay, final one here.
Number 5.
Okay, so this one, I was being timely with this because a week ago we were talking about the passing of Rick Ocasek, and so that kind of took me back to a Cars tribute album called Substitution Mass Confusion, which I was in the last decade. I think maybe toward the end of the decade.
That is a great name for a Cars tribute album. That has to be up in the top 20 for sure of tribute album names.
Yeah, put out by the now defunct Not Lame Records. They which was a label that put out a lot of power pop stuff, and so a lot of power pop bands on this Cars tribute album. One of which was the Gigolo Aunts, who covered "I'm Not the One," and I love the original. But one thing that I really like about the updated version of it is they did away with some of the synthesizers, which can get sort of cheesy. Like I think especially with that song, you do have that synthesizer solo that really does sound pretty dated. Yet it's a great song nonetheless, but it does have that dated element to it because of and so what I really like about the Gigolo Aunts version of it is it is a more timeless sounding recording of it.
Yeah, I the song underneath there is smothered a little bit by the original production, so anybody who takes any care with it should be able to reveal what a real song is there.
Yeah, because it is a great song, and there's no disputing that.
Is there a better Syd Barrett record than Gigolo Aunt?
I don't know, but that is where they got the name from.
I think most of his stuff to me is insufferable, but that song is fucking great.
See Emily Play is great too.
True, but that's Pink Floyd. Like, think of what they did to that poor guy. The guy's literally out of his mind, and they keep the tapes rolling.
But at that time, wasn't he really Pink Floyd?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't want to.
Is that another hot take?
I just don't want to be. I don't want to be on the record pretending that I'm a Pink Floyd expert. I think at least half of Pink Floyd's catalog is insufferable. At least half. This is a bold choice, and I must say I'm not familiar with it, but I am definitely that's going to go rocket to the top for my playlist for the week as I go about my busy day. I'm going to go number 5 here. So we've already talked about Jimi Hendrix All Along the Watchtower probably being the planetary consensus pick of all time best cover, where the cover is better than the original. I think the only recording I can think of that might also get a critical mass of votes is my number 5, which is Sinead O'Connor's Nothing Compares to You. It is dramatically superior to the original version by the family that Prince put out. And then here about a year ago, the Prince estate finally released the actual studio demo that is that he gave to her, like his actual arrangement and his actual performance. And the Prince performance of it is great. It absolutely was worth the wait. Like, I am willing to say that of all the material in Prince's vault that's going to come out over the next 10 years, I'm not sure too much more is going to come out that's better than his original version of Nothing Compares to You. Even with that said, and I have to recommend the Prince album originals. They put out they finally put out all the demos of the stuff he wrote for other people. It's a bit of a curio, but it's also a more solid listen than you might think. But not to take away from Sinead there. That was not the first time I'd heard Sinead O'Connor. I think her first album, Lion and the Cobra, is fantastic. I think she's fantastic. Whatever problems she may have and dealing with fame, when that kind of fame when you're 21 years old, I would do no better. So if you separate sort of the public drama from her and just focus on that performance, even Prince can't take that song back from her. She owns that, and it's an achievement, and it's great, and I've never tired of it. Never.
Yeah, and speaking of Sinead's like emotional distress, or however you want to describe it, I read something not that long ago that wasn't necessarily making this point, but kind of in my own mind, I was like thinking, maybe that's how things went wrong. She talked about her singing style and sort of compared it to method acting, like when she would sing something, like the emotion would come from really dredging up things in her past. And it's just I'm sure it really has more to do with the incidents that brought this about, but just having to go through all of that every time you sing, that can't help, I wouldn't think.
That's a great point. She recently was on some TV show. I believe she's converted to Islam, and I think she's trying to lead an observant life. I think she's always had a spiritual calling, and I don't, I think while she was a very, very Catholic and very associated with the Catholic identity for a long time, or her version of Catholicism, and now she's a practicing Islam. Like, again, there is a spirituality to her. She trying to, you got to give her a break. Being a spiritual person in a difficult, in a world like we have, is really hard, and to have to do that stuff in public and be subjected to the amount of just the wagging tongues that she's been subjected to. She didn't need that song. She is capable. She can write. She really can write. And her originals are stellar. Like, she's not somebody who has to have covers to get by. She owns it. It's great. I will go to my grave saying it. It's really the only competition for Jimi Hendrix All Along the Watchtower for our topic today of cover songs that are better than the originals.
Yeah, an interesting thing about the video too of that song. It's one shot of her singing the song.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because of the time or what it speaks to, but that video got a lot of airplay. Like plenty of video play. I think it probably won MTV awards. And yet, like you can think of so many other videos, if they would have been like that, if somebody would have had the nerve to make a video like that, it's hard to believe that MTV wouldn't have just said, well, we can't play this.
Right. She can carry it. You know what I mean? Like, she can handle it. Like, she is that from the first time I heard it, I think everybody who hears that, like, maybe it was overplayed for some people and maybe they don't feel the same intensity about it they did, but I don't know anybody who the first time they heard that didn't just have to, you couldn't take your eyes or ears off of it. it just made such a huge impact, and it's just such an important um, thing for music. I just don't think you can talk about the late '80s, early '90s without talking about her, and you can't talk about her without talking about that song. But you can
Hmm.
talk about her without talking about Prince. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Prince wrote it, but it's just that's not essential to the feelings that come from listening to that record.
Yeah, well, and like the video, the recording is very sparse. It's a very sparse arrangement. It
Right.
really is about her voice. It really is about the lyrics and the emotion of the song. They really did strip that bare and just and she carried it. She was the strength of it.
Prince wasn't very nice to her. I recently finished a book, a biography of Prince, and he's a complex person. He wasn't very
Hmm.
nice to her, but I think that's his way of acknowledging that she got over on him. She took something of his and made it hers, and there is no one else on the planet, I think, who pulled that off. That's a major achievement. I think even he had to give it to her.